The Unhappy Hour on the new AmericanMedia.com.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific. Hello and happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Unhappy Hour. And you know, I really can't remember a time when there have been so many interesting sports stories to talk about. So we're going to get into that here. I'm your host, Brian Engelman. Thank you for joining us here at the new AmericanMedia.com on the TNAM radio network. I'm serious. This is a fantastic day to talk about sports. And what I really like about it is we have some stories that cross over. They go in from sports into politics. Listen here. I'm just going to lay these out for you real quick. We have DeSean Jackson getting cut by the Eagles, and it's gang related. Well, okay, maybe it's money related. Well, maybe it's attitude related. Well, maybe he didn't get along with Chip Kelly. Maybe, I don't know, he takes plays off or takes games off and constantly gripes for new contracts, and then when he gets one, he wants another one. Listen, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, but I've had DeSean Jackson on my fantasy football teams the past 2 years. Wildly talented, wildly inconsistent, and definitely the contract problems affected his play. But I'm looking at all these pictures here on NJ.com. He's throwing up gang signs, especially with the Aaron Hernandez murder case. People are being a little more cautious of what's going on. But there's a lot of different angles to this. You know, maybe they just didn't. I don't know. It's just, why would you trade a player that's leading your team in respect? How do you keep him over Riley Cooper? Let me ask you that. You know what? I'll just get into this story. There's so many things I want to talk to you about. Real quick, if you're not following us on Facebook, or if you don't like our Facebook page, please do that. Search The New American Media and like the page. Spaces in between, The New American Media. If you're not following us on Twitter, we're at American_media_. Our homepage is thenewamericanmedia.com. And subscribe to our YouTube channel and join in the conversation, youtube.com/The New American Media. So I want to get into this here. Eagles cut DeSean Jackson, and I got to tell you, I am as I mentioned, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. So we had a feller, a feller named Josh Gordon last year. You might have heard of him. He was a hell of a wide receiver, but he also had some problems. He also had, let's just say in college, he was always getting into trouble, and then he was suspended for the first 2 games of last year. And he still led the league in a ton of categories. A phenom wide receiver. Brandon Weeden throwing him the ball, no less. So think of that one. Although Weeden did sign on as the third quarterback down in Dallas, so who knows? Bernie Kosar won a Super Bowl down there for Dallas, so anywho. When I, as a Cleveland Browns fan, see DeSean Jackson cut, I go, well, that player has talent. But I know the problem that he has been in the locker room. I've read the reports and the contract issues, and there's a whole backstory to DeSean Jackson. So I'm wondering, as a Cleveland Browns fan, do I even want him? Would I want? And it comes down to this: no, absolutely not. So many reports are saying that DeSean Jackson is a cancer in the locker room. I don't know. I'm not in the locker room, so I'm not telling you with certainty that that is the case. I'm not saying that. But when you have a player with Josh Gordon's talent and capability, you need a good character guy in the background. You know, nobody's squeaky clean. I totally get that. I'm not asking for somebody out of Leave It to Beaver or Mayberry. Wait, I can't do any more of that, or else I don't know. Someone will want me to pay for it. At least that's a Conan O'Brien joke every time he does that. Name that tune. Anyhow, but here's a story from NJ.com. That's not Michael Jackson. That's New Jersey. N as in New Jersey, as in, well, no longer an Eagles jersey. All right, this story has been updated from its original version that was published shortly before the Eagles released DeSean Jackson. I'm going to give you some of the facts and we can talk about them. Over the past several weeks, the Philadelphia Eagles reportedly had shopped wide receiver DeSean Jackson. On its face, the decision to trade one of the NFL's most talented players seemed curious At age 27, Jackson's coming off one of the best seasons of his career. 82 catches, 1,332 yards, 9 touchdowns. Plus, he's a playmaker who could have been expected to thrive for seasons to come in head coach Chip Kelly's fast-paced offense. And it is fast. Chip Kelly runs a very fast offense. DeSean Jackson's a very fast player. It's just suited for him theoretically. Those are my words. Back to the article. Yet the Eagles' apparent decision to jettison Jackson, nice alliteration, jettison Jackson, likely had little to do with his performance on the field or a big money contract that was slightly squeezing the team's salary cap. Now, he did have a pretty strong salary after his most recent request for more money. Okay? So, I mean, he had significant salary. It wasn't anything ridiculous, though. So, anyhow, thank you, pop-up ads, slowing this down. So it wasn't necessarily about the contract or the team squeezing salary. Rather, sources closest to Jackson and within the Eagles organization say it originally was Jackson's off-the-field behavior that concerned the front office. A bad attitude, an inconsistent work ethic, missed meetings, and a lack of chemistry with head coach Chip Kelly were the original reasons for his fall from grace. Now, these things I believe. This is the player that ran in for the touchdown and dropped the ball prior to scoring the touchdown. This is the player that returned the punt and then ran along the 1-yard line, not going in. He's the guy that does backflips into the end zone. He's one of those players, is what I'm getting at. You know, it's not a Barry Sanders kind of deal. You know, score your touchdown, set the ball down, hand it to the ref, whatever, and you go about your business. No, this is a showboat. I don't care what city you're reading or hearing this story from or where you're listening from. That is who this player is. Very flashy, very dynamic. Very dynamic. So, rather, sources to Jackson and within the Eagles organization say originally it was his off-the-field behavior that concerned the front office. That was the bad attitude, inconsistent work ethic, missed meetings, lack of chemistry with Chip Kelly. Sources told NJ.com. And when the Eagles looked more deeply into why Jackson was missing meetings, they found that his friends were becoming a more powerful and negative influence in his life, says this story. Then, suddenly, the Eagles had even more serious concerns when they were revealed by NJ.com. Jackson's continued association with reputed Los Angeles street gang members who have been connected to 2 homicides since 2010. And in between this story, it says, statement here, Jackson says he's never been a gang member. Ever since the New England Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez was arrested and charged with first-degree murder last summer, NFL franchises have been re-evaluating how closely they needed to watch their players away from the field. Wouldn't you? I would. We had to cut Devon Bess. Erratic play on the field, and then he's freaking out at an airport and getting... Look at... Athletes, please, your social media should not incriminate you in things. Think before you post. Teenagers, same thing. Those selfies might come back one day. Anyhow, off my soapbox. Ever since the Patriots tight end Aaron Hernandez was arrested and charged with first-degree murder last summer, they've been evaluating how closely they needed to watch their players away from the field. And what Eagles executives saw in Jackson, a 6-year veteran who was apparently a potential blight on the brand and a bad influence in the locker room. Before Jackson was released, a source within the Eagles organization who requested anonymity put it, quote, they are concerned about having him around the younger players, end quote. And that is exactly what I've been saying. Exactly what I've been saying. I would not want him within 200 yards of Josh Gordon. No. You bring in a veteran, you bring in a guy that is not what he is not. How about what he is? Speaking the positive, not the negative. Bring in a guy that could serve as a great mentor for a young man who could easily take any exit ramp off of the freeway that he's on. It's easy to be, whoop, someone grabbed the wheel. Come on, we're going here. Then all of a sudden, so they're concerned about having him around younger players. And then again, this is the team that kept Riley Cooper after. The dude drops an N-bomb at a country music concert. And I watched the video. It was really stupid. I don't know. Really stupid stuff. Murdering somebody? No. But guys, DeSean Jackson hasn't murdered anyone either. So let's just keep this in perspective. This is like the pre-crime of Minority Report. Where Big Brother's looking at your emails and looking at your telephone calls and checking your GPS whereabouts and reading your text messages, trying to figure out who your associations are and if you're likely or unlikely to perhaps potentially at some point in the future be involved in some sort of crime. Pre-crime from Minority Report. Freaky stuff. Not good for liberty and freedom. And those are issues we talk about on Agree to Disagree all the time. Sorry. No, but I do a political show. This is a sports show, but I do a political show. I will blur the lines. I am not ESPN. I do not care. I'd actually love to have Keith Olbermann on here. Couldn't disagree with him much more politically. Okay, I don't know. We come from different places, as we all do. But I would love a conversation with him. Big sports fan. I believe it's not too far of a stretch to call him a total lefty. I'm a libertarian, a reforming conservative. I'm not a big fan of Democrats or Republicans, really. But anyway, I digress. But pre-crime is dangerous. Well, we think you might be doing something in the future, so we're going to stop you now. That is really slippery slope. If you start going down that path, I don't like it at all. But they've also had him for several years, and the players have known him for several years, and it might be more of a locker room thing than this thing. But this is out of NJ.com. Let me continue here. DeSean Jackson was nowhere near the scene of the crime when on December 29th, 2010, 14-year-old Taburi Watson flashed a rival gang sign at two men as he rode his bicycle through South Los Angeles. The men, reportedly members of the Crips, responded to the teen's provocative gesture by shooting him multiple times. Hey, here's a gesture. Oh, I want to kill you and spend the rest of my life in jail. Really? Is this the Tupac and Biggie stuff? This stuff really still happens? Is it really worth spending your life in jail? Sorry, I just don't understand. You're in a fist fight or battle each other in MMA or in a boxing match and go at it. This, I don't know, shooting a 14-year-old, that makes a lot of sense to me. Anyway, the men reportedly Crips responded to the teen's gesture shooting him, pronounced dead at the scene. DeSean Jackson was not part of the case. Jane Robinson, a spokesman for the LA District Attorney's Office, told NJ.com he was not charged. He was not a charged defendant. He was not a witness. Okay, so what's the problem? Jackson was, however, associated with Theron Shakir, one of the two men who were charged with the murder, along with co-defendant Marquise Binns. Shakir is a purported member of the Crips. In addition, Shakir, known as T-Ron, is a rapper who recorded for Jackpot Records, which is a label owned by Jackson. So DeSean Jackson owns a record label. Let's put the pieces together, shall we? All right, let's see if we can connect A to B to C to D. To E for Eagles. So Shakir, known as T-Ron, is a rapper who recorded for Jackpot Records. That's Jaccpot Records, a label owned by DeSean Jackson. The two were close enough that they appeared together frequently in photographs, including pictures posted by Jackson to Instagram while Shakir sat in jail awaiting trial for the teen's execution. What was the caption? Free Treasy. #real1. #jackpot. Jaccpot. And they're wearing jackpot shirts. What are these? Sweatshirts? Hoodies? They look, what are they, like blue or green? It's like weird color. It's kind of washed out. Acting on unspecified information that Jackson might have knowledge of Shakir's activities on the night of Watson's murder, LAPD Detective Eric Crossan said he interviewed Jackson on the phone in late 2011. Crossan wouldn't reveal details of that conversation, but he described Jackson as, quote, cooperative at the time, end quote. Crossan also told NJ.com that he reached out to the Eagles by phone in early 2011. By the way, NJ.com. Are the Eagles a rival of the Giants who play in the Meadowlands? Is this a hit piece to hurt the other teams in your division? Hey, kind of like Ray Rice. I'm a Browns fan. Ray Rice goes down. I'll tell you know what, I'm going to tell you all about Ray Rice in just a second. Because this stuff is no bueno. If you watch the footage, Ray Rice, aggravated assault. And I thank you, pop-up ads and auto plays that I'm not asking for. Yeah, I mean, this video is crazy with Ray Rice. Oh, okay, I don't need the sound for that, thank you. I'm just going to tell you about Ray Rice now. Ray Rice is dragging. Just totally unconscious woman out of an elevator. Stepping over, reaching down, kind of giving her a hey. And a man in a suit walks over. He's like, hey, what's going on here? This woman is out cold. Her feet are in the path of the elevator, and he grabs her feet and just kind of slides her feet away so maybe the elevator door can close. And he's picking her up by the shoulders. She's just out. He's trying to pick her up, and she's not moving. This guy steps in. He's like, hey, man. Whatever he says to Ray Rice goes, oh, thanks for the stupid sound. I've turned the sound off. I muted it, and I muted it again. They just wanted to let me know it was TMZ. Thanks. But, as a Cleveland Browns fan, trust me, I've had more bad stuff happen to my team and my franchise. Hell, we were taken and stolen by Art Modell over to Baltimore. Now, I'm not saying that I'm happy to see Ray Rice get arrested for aggravated assault. Not saying that. Indicted on account of aggravated assault. I'm not saying that. But I am happy that a great running back is not playing for my rival anymore. Just an interesting tidbit, an interesting aside, as you think about NJ.com. Are they going after... That'd be like going after Ben Rapelessberger for rape. Oh, wait. He was never convicted of that, though, was he? Anyhow, it's just an interesting connection. So he's cooperative at the time. This is back to DeSean Jackson, this article from NJ.com. Crossan also told NJ.com he reached out to the Eagles by phone in early 2011, even before he interviewed Jackson, as a courtesy to alert them that Jackson's connection, that there was a connection to Jackson and the alleged killer. He never received a response from the team, he said. The following year, yeah, we heard all that stuff, but yeah, the guy's good. He can catch the football really well. He's good. He's a good footballer. He catches things and runs fast. Here, have 5 years and $48.5 million in a contract extension. So, when contracted by NJ.com on Wednesday, the Eagles issued a statement that they had, quote, no comment at this time, end quote. And team officials would neither confirm nor deny whether anyone in the front office had spoken to Crossan about Jackson's ties to a homicide suspect. Okay, so he's linked to a dude that's suspected of murder. On Thursday, a source in the organization said current front office members had been unaware of Jackson's links to an alleged killer. Front office members had been unaware of Jackson's links, except for the fact... Now, this investigator says that he contacted him. Okay. Shakir, who was in fact acquitted of Watson's murder and a related gun charge in January of 2013, spent more than a year in jail awaiting trial. Now, this Binns was convicted and sentenced to 15 years to life. In a photo apparently taken shortly after his release, Shakir is shown still wearing his L.A. County Jail t-shirt. Oh, pointing to it. There he is in the picture. Yep, it says L.A. County Jail. Pointing to it. while someone who appears to be Jackson holds up a jackpot chain. Yep, that appears to be what's going on here. You can view this on Instagram. Instagram. At least one person close to Jackson believes the troubling associations date back to the mid-2000s when his father, Bill, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Quote, the loss of his father was devastating for him. Raul Lara, Jackson's former football coach at Poly High School in Long Beach, California, told NJ.com. When his dad passed away, I think DeSean started to hang around some not-so-good people, end quote. So a little over a year after the rising NFL star was interviewed by police about his connection to Shakir, Jackson's name was once again making its way onto the desk of Detective Crossan. Again. This time, Jackson's name surfaced as part of an investigation into a 2012 gang-related murder that occurred outside a South Los Angeles business where a party had taken place. The building was owned or leased... Wait, they don't know which one? The building was owned or leased by a member of Jackson's family, police said. During a search of the building, Crossan told NJ.com, investigators found several documents belonging to Jackson, including a car title. Really? A gun permit issued in New Jersey, and credit card receipts. Now, car title, credit card receipts, and a gun permit. Interesting. Okay. No, I'm just trying to think if I leave credit card receipts and gun permits and car titles at family, friends, buildings that were leased or owned by a member of my family or something. After discovering the documents, Crossan said he made multiple attempts to contact Jackson by phone but never was able to connect with the wide receiver. Crossan added that Jackson was never considered a suspect in the crime. Despite Jackson's name having come up in connection with two gang-related murders involving Crips, Crossan said police have no hard evidence that Jackson is a member of the gang, which was formed in the late 60s and has an estimated 35,000 members across the country. Crossan said, however, Jackson routinely flashes Crip gang signs in photos on social media and, wait for it, even on television during an NFL game. Quote, you don't want to see anybody throwing up signs like he did in the Redskins game last year, end quote. No, that's what Crossan said. Quote, those were neighborhood Crip gang signs, and he flashed them during a game. He may not be affiliated with the gang, but they don't ordinarily take kindly to those not in the gang throwing up those gang signs, end quote. Last season, Jackson appeared to throw up the hand gesture in the face of Washington Redskins defensive back D'Angelo Hall after a reception in the Eagles season opener. Jackson also can be seen contorting his fingers to make a C, which is another Crip sign, in a music video he shot with former Poly High student. Wait for it. Snoop Dogg. Jackson flashed it again while wearing an Anaheim Angels hat on Instagram. So now we got Snoop Dogg. The plot thickens. Instagram, Jackpot10, Jackpot10. It's interesting. Even the name of Jackson's music label, Jackpot Records, has not gone unnoticed by authorities. Police brought it up to Jackson, Crossan said, when he was interviewed in the investigation of the Watson homicide. The two C's in Jackpot, cops believed, were symbolic. Crips avoid putting a C next to a K because in gang speak that stands for Crip Killer. Crossan said Jackson explained the spelling by saying the internet domain name for Jackpot was taken. In quotes, was taken. Quote, DeSean Jackson is not a gang member. End quote. Said EAG Management CEO and founder Denise White, Jackson's agent. Quote, he's far, far from it, end quote. Then, if his agent says he's fine, he must be fine. White, who would not make Jackson available for an interview, offered no further comment. I would love to get an interview with this guy, like ASAP, before he's all coached up. Hey, if there's nothing... It's a very interesting case. So despite his connections with reputed gang members and police interest in talking to him in connection with two homicides, Jackson's supporters say he has otherwise comported himself as a model citizen. Through court records, however, NJ.com uncovered a previously unreported arrest that occurred in September 2009. Jackson was pulled over for having illegally tinted windows, police said. And during the course of the traffic stop, officers said they discovered marijuana in the vehicle. Jackson was arrested for possession of marijuana while driving, disturbing the peace, and operating a car with materials that obstruct or reduce the driver's view, according to court documents. The marijuana and illegally tinted windows charges were dropped as part of a plea deal, and Jackson pleaded guilty to disturbing the peace charge in April 2010. He lawyered up, maybe. Both the Eagles and a spokesman for the NFL reached Thursday declined to comment on the arrest. Since joining the Eagles in 2008, Jackson, a three-time Pro Bowl player, has been an active member of the Philadelphia community and has been involved in several charities. He had been particularly active in campaigning against youth bullying. Does it qualify for bullying if you shoot a 14-year-old? Is that bullying? Or is that classified as something else? Lara, his former high school coach, who is now head coach at Warren High School in Downey, California, said Jackson had been nothing but friendly when the wide receiver had visited Poly High during NFL bye weeks. Lara added that Jackson had even been willing to bring his anti-bullying message to Warren. As a player, he was a great kid for me, Lara said. I didn't have any issues. I loved his leadership. He had a chip on his shoulder, and as a coach, you like to see that in a great athlete. He had something to prove. I was a little worried about him when his father passed. I know his mother tried to get involved in his life, but I haven't seen any indication Jackson is involved with gangs outside of him starting up his rap label. Athletes like to portray a tough image with gangsters and whatever else. Maybe he's playing into that. That's part of him that I never really saw. Jackson was actually a crime victim earlier this year as burglars made off with an unknown amount of cash, an estimated $125,000 worth of jewelry. That's a lot of jewelry. And 2 handguns from his South Philly home. I wonder if those stolen handguns will ever turn up. Jackson disputed reports that $250,000 in cash was stolen from a safe inside the house and offered a $50,000 reward for information on the crime. That's a big deal when you have $250,000 stolen from you, or $125,000 as reported. Oh, actually, well, it was cash and the jewelry of $125,000 and handguns. Handguns are not cheap. Well, not $100,000, but whatever this was significant enough where he offered a $50,000 reward for information on the crime. So, okay, got arrested for, tinted windows, weed, and disturbing the public, and then he had a burglary in his home, and then he's running a rap label, and people involved are going into jail and being charged with murder. One guy gets out, one guy's in 25 to life. I'd say that's quite a few things starting to pile up here. Like I said, not a fan of pre-crime. Innocent till proven guilty, absolutely. When asked about Jackson's status at the NFL owners' meetings Tuesday in Orlando, Florida, Eagles general manager Howie Roseman said Jackson is, quote, still under contract for us. And until there's anything to report on our players, that's where we are now. Yeah, those quotes are not good. So, Jimmy, how's your wife? We are still technically married according to the state of California. And until there's anything to report on our marriage, that's where we are now. Yeah, that would not be good. Read between the lines. No bueno. Head coach Chip Kelly also dodged question regarding rumors about trading or releasing Jackson, saying on Wednesday, quote, I like DeSean, but we're always going to do what's best for the organization. And that was clutch. Because that was 2 days ago. And then, DeSean got dropped today, Friday, March the 28th, 2014. I like DeSean, but we're always going to do what's best for the organization. Ooh. So, Jimmy, how's the wife? I like the wife. But I'm always going to do what's best for me. Oh, sorry, Jimmy. My bad. So, Dayton, huh? March Madness. Wow. Guess Warren Buffett keeps his billions. Changing the subject quickly. So it's interesting. It's interesting. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and tweet this out. I welcome your comments, your thoughts, your opinion, your insight on this story. But I'm going to send it out on Twitter. Here, I'm going to do hashtag TNAM Sports. How about the question would be, would you have cut DeSean? Would you sign him? Hashtag the unhappy hour. Okay. Bam. I'm going to copy this. And seriously, go ahead, retweet this, comment back, quote it. Leave us a message on YouTube. Yeah, I'm going to toss this up on our Facebook page. Really, is this enough? Would you have cut him? He's a very productive player, damn near at the peak of his game. I don't know. You can't have troublemakers, though. All I know about DeSean, he's very flashy, he's flamboyant, but when you start looking at all these pictures, there is you know what this tells me right here? This is a boatload of circumstantial evidence. A boatload of circumstantial evidence. So join the conversation. Our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com, youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia. Click subscribe. Leave your comments. Join the conversation. On Facebook, do a search for The New American Media and like the page. And on Facebook, we're at American_media_. So that's just one of the interesting stories that I want to cover today. I also want to talk about Roddy White following through on his bet. I want to talk... You know what? I'll just talk about this here. This isn't a big story, but for me it is. Grady Sizemore is going to start in center field for the Boston Red Sox. I'm going to tweet this out, and I'm just going to say best of luck, Grady. Yeah. TNAM Sports. And hashtag the unhappy hour. That's the name of our show. I like trying to talk and run a program and type and do all of this stuff at the same time. Okay, best of luck, Grady. There it goes. But, I mean, this guy had all the tools, a very talented player. Injuries sidelined him in Cleveland for a very long time. He hasn't played baseball in 2 years. Then he hit a home run and hit .333 in spring training for the Red Sox, and he's going to start. So I wish Grady the best. I hope he does fantastic in every series that he plays in, unless he's playing Cleveland. Then he can stink for all I care. So we're going to come back. We got a couple other things to talk about. I mean, this is just a... I think I'm just going to avoid agree to disagree at this point, because some of these stories kind of cross over. I mean, Roddy White, it's a betting story. It's a Cinderella story. Cinderella story. No, it's a football story. That's fine. But that's not all we're talking about. I got to talk about Northwestern college football and what the union decision means. There's an article here on SB Nation. I want to kind of break it down a little bit, talk about it a little bit. Kobe Bryant stirs social media firestorm with controversial comments regarding Trayvon Martin. Oh, there's a sports and politics story. You're listening to a big Second Amendment defender right here. And that case was tricky, and for a very long time I didn't make an opinion on it. And as the trial came through, there were some unanswered questions. I wasn't 100% certain, but it looked like, based on the evidence that the police saw, which is why they didn't pursue charges in the first place, it looked like this guy was attacked, this Zimmerman guy, and he used his gun in self-defense. Now, did he get out of the car? Why did he get out of the car? Should he have got... Okay, fair point. well, you can't just follow someone. No, I mean, you can follow someone. You can't assault them and start smashing their head into the concrete. Well, you can't shoot someone. Right, unless it's self-defense. And so Kobe Bryant wades into this story. It's a little bit of a detailed comment, bringing up LeBron James and asking about why the Heat did what they did with the Trayvon Martin hoodie photo shoot. Very interesting comments from Kobe, and Kobe also once accused of rape. Talking about Ben Roethlisberger, Rapeless Burger. So I'm going to talk about that. And of course, the Cleveland Cavs are somehow still in the running. They're still potentially in the playoff hunt. Maybe. Okay, they're trailing by 13 to Brooklyn, so it might be a moot point by the time this airs and gets out there. But, we'll see. Maybe we'll bring in NBA scout Zach Barris to join the program. He said he might be available after 6. Says he's available 6:10. So you know what? Maybe we will bring him in. And we'll talk about it on the other side. My name is Brian Engelman. You're listening to the New American Media. We'll be right back with more of the Unhappy Hour.
It's the Unhappy Hour.